So a year ago, you're the fresh face in here. Just how far have you come as a head coach from standing in the same spot 1 year ago to now being, not a seasoned vet, but got some experience under your belt as a head coach?
It's funny how like sort of trends are in football that kind of stay consistent. Usually when you got a first year player, they make strides going into year two, and I definitely feel that correlates with coaching, at least in my case. Going being a first year head coach a year ago to kind of going through the season and going through a full off season, and headed into the start of fall camp next week. Definitely feel like I'm in a different place, a much better place than I was personally a year ago.
How much harder is it in this era, to establish a system, especially make that bridge from year to one, year two, when half your roster turns over?
Yeah, it does present challenges. I think you need to be strategic about when you bring guys in. I thought we did a really good job of bringing the majority of our newcomers in January. So that way you do get a full off season, and you got to be strategic about how much time you spend in the weight room, how much time you spend on football. But we had a good nucleus of guys returning, both on offense and defense. And what we do schematically, offense, defense, special teams, it's user friendly. So which is why we had freshmen that played a year ago that had significant minutes, and why I think from a transfer portal standpoint, guys can come in and contribute right away because of the way we install, the way we teach, and the progression we go through.
Are you motivated, Ryan, when you see people have low expectations for this team?
Absolutely.
When you see that, is that something you talk to the team about, or you guys going to use that as a rallying cry, a chip on your shoulder?
I definitely think there's a chip on everyone's shoulder in the building. We're all here to compete, right? And the three things we talk about the most in our program is being competitive, tough, and discipline, with competitive being at the forefront. And so when you go 4-8, you better have a chip on your shoulder. You know what I mean? I think the guys that we brought in feel like they got something to prove as well. And so definitely use it as motivation. Can't really pay attention to it or harp on it too much, but I'd be naive to sort of turn a blind eye and not talk about the elephant in the room. So we definitely address that as a team.
What does it mean for this team, for Gus Hartwig to come back? Just as a leader, especially last year with your offensive line being what it was.
Yeah.
He was the guy that kind of held everything together with basically the circus he had going on there with injuries.
Right. It was huge. I think for him personally, being healthy going into an off season was exciting for him. I think he saw the direction the program was going and wanted to be a part of it. And he's been a stalwart in the locker room for a long time, and has earned the respect of his peers. With the amount of offensive linemen that we added, it was good to have somebody with his expertise and his knowledge of the game and the system and how we want to operate to sort of lead that group up front.
Is there anything that has surprised you in this first year of being a head coach? You mentioned you feel you're in a better place personally.
Yeah.
Just some of those things that make you feel better prepared right now.
Yeah, obviously you kind of go through every scenario that you can think of, but different things happen throughout the course of the year that that you weren't prepared for or you hadn't seen before. And as a defensive guy, how was I better utilizing my time as for the team, on the defensive side of the ball and as a head coach. And I just think I have a better understanding of just how to use my time and time management and where I can add value to the best of my abilities for our program.
You can be a full strength health-wise everything for the start of camp next week.
Yeah, I believe we got a couple guys that got dinged up that were I'm talking guys that we're counting on having some production for us this season that had minor injuries throughout the course of workouts. They'll be back by the week one. So it's about as healthy as I've been going into camp for sure.
Talk about your transition from year one to year two. Hudson had experience, but not a lot as a starting quarterback. Now he's got a full year. How beneficial is that? How much have you seen him grow? Just an understanding of your system and the game as a whole.
Yeah, like I said earlier, the jump from year one to year two is exponential, and it's no different for him, even though he's an older guy. Like you said, it was the first year as a full-time starter at the collegiate level, first year in the system. So just to see him, more comfortable with his surroundings, more in inundated with the locker room and getting those guys to kind of rally around him, and then seeing how he handled the spring and sort of mastering what we're doing schematically, and also coming into his own as a leader. He's the unquestioned leader on the offensive side of the ball. And he knows this is his team. You know what I mean, from a quarterback standpoint, and he definitely is taking that role in stride and has embraced that. And so I'm excited to see what that looks like in terms of this fall.
You can't talk about Purdue 2024 without talking about the schedule. Just everybody harps on Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame. Just the challenges there, I guess the opportunity too, right?
Yeah, definitely. You just mentioned the sort of the blue blood programs on the schedule, and we've got a plethora of them. But anytime you're in this conference and you play 9 conference games, it's going to be a tough schedule. So we knew that going into it, and like you said, when you have those type of opponents, what great opportunities are there out there for you, especially when going into the season you've got such low expectations. You got a chance to do something special, and it's laid out there right in front of us, and we got to take advantage of the opportunity, take advantage of the moment.
With these big changes happening in college football landscape, does that add, or I guess, how much does that add to your plate of where you're doing more than just worrying about coaching football, and you got to handle bringing some of these changes in and implementing them?
Yeah, as a head coach, you got to wear a lot of hats. That's just the nature of the role. I think with the new changes, you can't worry about what you think should happen or shouldn't happen, or what direction you should take or shouldn't take. You got to deal with what is out in front of you and try to utilize the rules and to the benefit of the program.
Are any of the new rule changes going to be more impactful than others, Ryan? Like the 2-minute warning, the helmet communication, anything that?
I think the helmet communication, the use of the video on the sidelines and in the locker room will definitely be different. I think games will be sped up because of the time changes. But once you hit that 2-minute mark, it goes back to like your old college football rules. But I definitely think there's an opportunity to steal some timeouts with the 2-minute warning. So I think it'll definitely be a learning curve, but we got to be ready for it and use it to our advantage.
You guys spent a lot of time in the spring on the helmet cams, getting that up to speed.
Yeah, we did. We both offensively and defensively. So it's not new going into the fall.
How did you inundate yourself? Last year, you're signing autographs, going to chicken restaurants, all kinds of stuff, trying to get your face and sell the program, what you're doing. How has that changed in a year where now, hopefully you have an established base, people know who you are and know what this program is about?
Yeah, I've spent a lot more time just on program matters, and I still have spent a lot of time fundraising and trying to bolster our NIL and collective. But definitely just feel more comfortable with what is needed. You know what I mean? There were a lot of things that needed to change that had nothing to do with football a year ago. So I had to spend a lot of time, working on those changes. But now that the program is running the way we sort of envisioned it to run when we got the job, it's definitely more settling to be in this role. Not having to worry about a lot of other things.
I know you're more comfortable with where you're at NIL-wise, but are you comfortable with where you're at NIL-wise? You can always use more money.
Yeah, we are in the conversation. We still need to go compete, but I think we've got a passionate fan base and some really successful alumni who are very supportive of the program, and I'm confident that we'll be solid.
Well, what's next for Dylan Thieneman?
Year 1 to year 2 growth. I fully expect him to be a lot better than he was a year ago. Now, would that look like 106 tackles and 6 interceptions? Probably. The reality is probably not. Like, that's about as productive as I've seen from that position. But just his understanding of where his help is at, what the offense is trying to do, his leadership on defense. We'll be better as a defense because of his experience and his growth from year 1 to year 2.
What sort of things do you see from KJ Jenkins over the summer as he's continued to make this transition?
Yeah, just he's gotten more comfortable. you know, he went from being a somewhat undersized edge rusher to like now he's a big inside linebacker. And so I just think he adds a different set of versatility, being able to still go get the quarterback and now play, you know, sideline to sideline from the cylinder. And, you know, he guys feed off of his athleticism and sort of the energy he brings. And so I'm excited to see what that looks like this fall.
Were some of the moves he made in the portal getting edge rushers with that in mind, that he was going to move the middle?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, a lot of turnover at receiver, Ryan. A lot of guys left, a lot of new faces. But the guy everybody's still talking about is Jamal Edgerrin. Just, is he really going to be your alpha? And how do some of these other portal wideouts been looking?
Yeah, you know, I'm really excited about that group. Like you said, it was, you know, a complete overhaul. You know, outside of like Sawinski and Tibbs, who was and you know, Armand Branch, who were freshmen last year. You know, we got a lot of guys that are big, physical, and really fast. So I'm excited to see what competition looks like this fall. And Jamal is a better version of himself than he was going into camp a year ago. So you know, I thought he was going to be our number one target last season, and you know, if things continue the way they're continuing, I can see where that might be the case going into the fall.
Get one more question.
You know, these things evolve naturally, but I feel like Sanusi was a guy that was the outspoken leader of the defense last year. You have to kind of wait for that to materialize, or who becomes kind of a captain of that side of the ball?
You know, obviously, like KJ, obviously, you know, he's here, and he's played a lot of really good football for us. But you know, you got other guys that we've brought in also, you know, that were vocal during the spring. Dylan was vocal in the spring. You know, guys like Antonio Stevens was another vocal guy. So I think we have, you know, we don't have like that one outspoken, you know, rah rally the troops vocal leader, but we have more leaders on the defensive side of the ball than we had last season.
Thanks, everyone.